A couple of days ago, an Al Jazeera journalist called Shireen Abu Akleh was killed in Palestine, and she was shot by Israeli Defense Force, by a sniper. She was shot in the head and she died instantly. Now, she was clearly in the uniform of press. She had that blue helmet, the blue Kevlar vest that says press. She was doing her job. And frankly, and I mean no disrespect to her, I had never heard of her, but apparently she was a very, very big deal in the Arab world. She was an Arab Christian, and she had been working for Al Jazeera for quite some time. She was very well respected, a journalist who did journalism on the ground, talking to people, being there. Somebody who had earned the respect of all. And she was killed. And the initial evidence made it clear that it was her murder, her death, happened at the hands of the Israeli Defense Force, and probably an Israeli Defense Force sniper. Now, I'm not going to get into that particular aspect of it because I can understand quite easily how a soldier, a young guy, he's got eyes on the target, as they say in their little militaries, right? And he slipped. He lost concentration, a bullet flew and killed this poor woman. I can understand that because that happens. And I can understand that it might have been completely by accident. A lot of people want to say that it was an assassination. I don't really push it that far. I think it probably was an accident. It happens all the time. Soldiers, young men, in the heat of the moment, in just loss of concentration, something horrible can happen. That's why weapons are so dangerous. You can have the best of intentions, and by pure accident, something horrible happens with consequences that can never be taken back. I do tend to think that this particular death, incredibly tragic, was likely an accident. But the funeral was not. You've probably seen video of her funeral. The fact that she was killed and the way that she was killed is an absolute tragedy. And she was taken to a church, her body, in a casket, was taken to a church. And there is video of Israeli Defense Force people, police, whomever, but Israelis, clubbing the people who are carrying this woman's casket to the church, clubbing them. It's right there. And what's interesting is that there have been a lot of propagandists who've come out and said that, the police weren't clubbing these people for no reason. They weren't clubbing the pallbearers for no reason. What was going on was that the people with the pallbearers had been throwing rocks at the Israeli police. And that's why the Israeli police reacted by clubbing the pallbearers. Well, okay. If you want to go that direction, sure. It's understandable if somebody's throwing rocks at you that you'll want to club them, especially if you're the police and the people throwing rocks at you are not the police. Yeah, sure. I can understand that. But see, clubbing the pallbearers, because for sure the pallbearers were not throwing rocks, okay? And you see the video of how these soldiers, Israeli soldiers, are beating the ever-living shit out of the pallbearers, the guys who are actually carrying the casket. You see it, okay? It's not that somebody told me or it was like an account of an eyewitness. No, it's video evidence. Anybody can see it. And they were clearly clubbing the pallbearers who were not throwing rocks at anybody because they were carrying the casket, okay? And insofar as the other people around the pallbearers, the other people who were going to the church, well, they might have been throwing rocks, but then why were they throwing rocks? For no reason? Or perhaps they were provoked. Because that seems to be the attitude of the Israelis and the Americans, for that matter, because the Americans have a lot of responsibility in this particular situation and the Israeli situation in general. Because, after all, the Americans finance the Israeli state. Well, those people who were with the pallbearers started throwing rocks. Why? because they were being intimidated and goaded by the Israeli policemen, by the security people. And that's something so typical of Israel, so typical of the United States. It shows force arrogantly. A bunch of men in uniform with guns and sticks show up and show themselves to be arrogant bullies. And that naturally brings out of everybody a sense of like, who the fuck is this asshole? Who does he think he is? Acting all tough like this, all arrogant, all like a bully. Especially at a moment like this. We are burying this poor woman who was a decent person, a hardworking person, somebody that we all respected. We are burying her, and you're showing up all bully-like, trying to intimidate us. So of course people are going to throw rocks at that. And that's the trick. That's what the Americans and the Israelis do. They provoke, they poke with arrogance. They provoke, they poke, and then when you naturally react, they say, oh my God, look what you have done. You've used violence against us. See the game that they play? They play this game so that they can tell the world with their propaganda and their lies that you're at fault for what they provoked. Japan didn't attack Pearl Harbor for no reason. That's what the American propaganda keeps insisting. That Japan, for no reason whatsoever, attacked Pearl Harbor. And then you start looking a little bit more closely and you start to realize all the things that the United States did, provoking the Japanese, provoking them, poking them, cutting off their food supply, cutting off their oil supply, until the Japanese realized we have to do something because they're going to kill us if we keep on allowing this. And so they did. And then the Americans are like, look what they did, Pearl Harbor. We didn't do anything, and they attacked us. Now we got to go to war. We got to kill those Japanese because they're bad. Because they attacked us at Pearl Harbor, because we were so innocent. We were so good and kind. We were just, strolling down the street and going to get a lollipop when they attacked us. And when they can't provoke somebody into attacking them, to give them the justification, they make it up. Like, you ever heard of something called the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution? The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution was the authorization to go to war in Vietnam back in the 60s. And why is it called the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution? Well, because of an incident that occurred in the Gulf of Tonkin. And it was blamed on the North Koreans, that the North Koreans had attacked the Americans. Turned out that that was a lie, a complete lie. There was no such attack. It was made up. Or like the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein was supposed to have. That was another big fat lie. And the United States went to war. The United States invaded Iraq. See? Because when they can't provoke you into lashing out and hitting back, they'll just make up something, assign the blame to you, and then attack you. You see? That's the Israeli method, and that's the American method, quite frankly. And so when I see the video of the Israeli occupation forces bludgeoning pallbearers, I know exactly what happened. And when their propagandists say that, oh, they're just bludgeoning them because they were attacked with rocks, I know exactly what happened. They provoked. Silently, sneakily, and then later they lie. Because that's how they are. And once you understand that that's how they are inherently, that in their souls, they're just black, and that they will do anything at all to achieve their ambitions. When you realize that, when you fully understand that, then it all becomes very, very clear.